Hi everyone, and thank you for joining. This is Bradford Cloud User Group's May virtual meetup, and today we have two guest speakers. Abdul Kazi joining us all the way from Canada, who's a recently promoted MVP. Congratulations, Abdul.
Thank you so
And a
much.
new speaker to Bradford Cloud User Group, Raji Chinam. So the first speaker, Abdul, will be speaking about introduction to access packages. I'll let them introduce themselves. They're far better at introducing themselves than me. And then our second speaker will be Raji Chinam. If you have any questions, put it in the chat, or there'll be a section for Q&As at the end. And like always, if you want to be a speaker, whether you're new or veteran speaker, you've got a topic you want to share, we're looking for speakers for our June virtual meetup. So reach out to me, Simon or Imran, and hope you enjoyed tonight's event. Thank you for joining. Abdul, over to you.
Perfect. Sounds good. Let me bring my slides. Okay, so hopefully you guys can see that. So yeah, as Salih said, my name is Abdul Kazi, and I'll be presenting about access packages. So before we jump into the actual presentation, just a quick introduction about myself. My name is Abdul Kazi. I was awarded MVP a couple of months ago. Been in the IT industry for almost 20 years now. I'm also MCT, so do training for that as well. And then I also am a co-host of Come Cloud with Us. So if you want to come speak to our group, happy to have any speakers, regardless if you're new or seasoned speakers. We're always looking for speakers from that aspect. So, so today's topic, as I said, is access packages. Um, you might have heard of it or might not. So the whole idea about access packages, it really what it does is, so I'll give you a use case scenario. Today, you might be working in a large organization. They might have SharePoint, and external vendors might need access to that SharePoint site or some sort of resources within that SharePoint site. So what generally happens is you go and start providing access individually to those users, which absolutely can become a nightmare, not only from a operational standpoint, but from a management standpoint, because doing just access review on those, it's a nightmare. So Microsoft came up with what is known as an access package. It's really a bundle of resources, so you can tie in um, Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, you can do security groups, and then you can also do apps as well, your SaaS applications. And the good thing is you can lump that together, and then you can have a stamp. So let's say, for example, if you have a contractor coming in and you want to need to provide access to them, you can say, okay, you only get 6 months access. If you need more access, you can do a review and re-request your access. So it's very granular. It's very good from that aspect. Uh, so what does that mean? Like, I want to go through the summary of the terminology, and I'll start from the bottom up. And the reason being is uh, the way Microsoft does it a little bit different, and we'll see in the portal. So although in the portal it might say access package, the first thing you're supposed to do is build a catalog. And catalog in a nutshell is really a container. So think about it is as a container, and everything pretty much goes inside that. Um, from an access package standpoint, access package is really, think of it as resources and policies. So um, you can have Teams, SharePoint, whatnot in a access package, and you can have multiple access packages. So let's say you have a marketing department. You can have a catalog for the marketing department, and then you can have multiple access packages depending on what the marketing department is doing. So that really helps make it easier and manage it, because then the marketing team can pretty much manage anything under the catalog. So, and it's hierarchical. So you put and go and give the permission based on what you want to give, and we'll see that in the next couple of slides. From a policy standpoint, you put a policy on the access package. So you define who gets access, time assignments, access reviews, life cycle, those kind of things. And then again, resources. Right now, since this is fairly new and it's evolving, um, Microsoft added Teams, SharePoint, the application, so enterprise applications, um, and they're also adding more features in there as we speak. So when we go in the portal, you'll see there are some preview features that are coming up. So it's, as we know, like Azure and even M365, it keeps evolving. Microsoft keeps coming up with new features. So you might be asking, okay, why do I need access package, or when do we need it, right? So as I mentioned, time limit access. You have a vendor coming in for 6 months. Uh, you bring them in, you provide them whatever access they need, and then after 6 months, the access gets cut off based on the policy. Then they can also come back and um, ask for access. So it's very granular. And then you can also do approvals. So the second thing is you might say, okay, we need approvals, and you can actually do multiple level of approvals. So right now I'm doing a project for public sector, the government in Canada. And because there's so much compliance requirements, um, they need multiple approvals. So approval one, two, and then if those people are not available, then you can assign a third person as well. So just to make sure, they're covering the compliance reasons. So it gets very granular. You can make it not approval, but it really depends on the use case. What I've seen is there are multiple different use cases. Public sector is a little bit different, but in other organization, things might want to move faster. So you might not have approvals. You just give somebody delegation, and then they come in. So it really depends. And one of the biggest things I like about this, and we were talking about uh, before, is it does not require IT involvement. So generally speaking, when you're requesting a new service, you might go to your IT department. They might open a ticket or whatever tool they're using, ServiceNow or what have you, and they're like, "Yep." And somebody has to process that request. It takes a couple of business days, depending on the SLA, what SLA they have. With this, you can give access to the somebody in the department itself. So, like I said, marketing department, you can assign somebody. They can even start approving access to the people internally or externally, depending how it's set up. So it's very granular. It's very easy, and even you don't need to know technology or the backend to manage this. It's fairly easy to learn. And one of the other great things I like about this is cross organization collaboration. And what I mean by that is, let's every organization has vendors, right? Outside vendors, partners you're working with. So think about Microsoft; they have huge partner ecosystem. So what you can do is you can take specific organizations that you're working with on a day-to-day basis. You can say, okay, this organization, it is whitelisted for this access package. So anybody requesting access package from that domain doesn't need approval. They automatically come in, they request, and they automatically are pre-approved. So those are things that Microsoft is really starting to build in, make it easier from a management standpoint. Because the thing is, you want to make it as easy as possible for people to not only get access but maintain the access as well. Sometimes we get bogged down with the operational overhead, so this really makes it much easier. Now you might be thinking, okay, what are the roles and responsibilities? So these are the four main roles, and these are uh, linked to the access package and the catalog itself. So the first one is the catalog owner. This is pretty much, the keys to the kingdom, if you will. So this person won't be able to create a catalog, but they can edit the catalog, they can edit the access packages, anything under the catalog they can do. And then you have the catalog reader, the access package manager, and the access package assignment manager. This is the one I've seen most use, and this is what I've been in public sector or other places, because it gives you the least amount of privilege, but it gives you the ability to bring people in. So if you want to start inviting people internally or externally, so that's the great way of doing it. So let me talking about that. This chart really gives out the detail task list. So as I said, if you look at the catalog owner can do a lot of things. One thing to call out here is there's also a catalog creator. That person can only create the catalog. So once the catalog is created, depending on what the requirement is or the use case is, you can go and define those permissions in here. Um, as always, go with the least privilege. We don't want to give global admin access to everybody. So although they have pretty much everything, that's not a good approach, or that's not a best practice from that aspect. So catalog order is fine as long as you're giving, that person is not going to be, um, or they're probably trained, I guess, because things happen. They can accidentally delete something, but as long as they have the proper training, I think they should be fine. And then talking about um, Entra IDs. So these are the main Entra IDs that are enabled for the access package, or um, what do you call entitlement management. Obviously, global admin has pretty much keys to the kingdom across the board. You do not want to give that to the people. Identity governance is really good. And then when I started doing this project, um, I had to set up a new access package, but I did not have the SharePoint admin role. So what happened was I was not able to add the SharePoint site as a resource into it. So that became really challenging. So, also have to kind of figure out, okay, what roles do you want to do? How do you want to do it? And those kind of things. Plus, if you are the owner of the SharePoint site on the admin side, then you should be fine. But then obviously if you're not a SharePoint admin or owner on the back end, then yeah, you would need to go through these privileges to make sure that everything is set up properly. So now let's talk about entitled management. What does that mean? So um, entitled management actually comes under governance. And this is really a bird's eye view of the access package, if you will. So as we can see, this is a organization here. You have resources, and resources are, as I said, can be broken down. So you have two applications here. This is a security group for finance, and then you have two SharePoint sites. Hannah is the IT admin, and then we have three catalog creators. So these people only can create catalogs. They won't be able to manage it. Once they create, they give it to somebody else who is a catalog owner. And in this view, we can see we have three different catalogs. So marketing catalog, finance catalog, and then legal catalog. Under the marketing, you can see the resources here. So, and one thing I will see in the demo is once you create the catalog, you have to add the resource to the catalog before adding the resources to the access package. If you do not add resources to the catalog, resources are not going to be showing up in access package. And actually, it has happened to me. I'm like, oh, what happened? I'm not seeing any resources in the access package. And I go back to the catalog. I did not add the resources there. So that's kind of lesson learned. But this is really hierarchical. So from a catalog, then resources, access package, and then you would have the resources underneath. And then as we can see, this has two different access packages. So sales access package and then campaign access package. And the good thing is you can apply two different policies depending on the use case. So one might say, for internal users. The other might be for external users, and then there might not be any access reviews required. So really depends what the requirements are. You can tweak your policy based on the requirements. Now moving along, um, so you might say, okay, how do I control access to the access packages? So from a directory standpoint, and again, let me explain you what we're looking at. So on the top, we are looking at resources here, and then we have catalog one. Catalog one, we added two groups, two security groups, one application, and then two team site, or sorry, a SharePoint site. Now we want to give access to access package 1. So as you can see, these are internal resources. Request 1, 2, and 3 are coming from internally. And then we have access package 2 that not only internal people need to access, but they also want external people. So this is external directory. So it could be another intra ID tenant, or could be a third party account like Gmail or Outlook that can come in. The only caveat there is with external emails like Gmail or Outlook, you would need a OTP, one-time password. It's going to spit out. So that has to be considered when um, making the setup. But as you can see, they're internal people and they're external people. So you can control who you provide access to, and it becomes very granular from that aspect. So with that being said, and I wanted to keep this short because honestly, this is really a one-day thing. I can go on and on access packages. So let me bring up. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring my screen up real quick and share again. Okay. So this is the Entra portal, which is the new portal now. And the reason I want to bring this up is also, I personally was very used to the Microsoft Azure portal, which is the older one now. And this one, everything is pretty much with a different UI. So it really gets sometimes get used to how this is laid out. So for the access packages, it is coming under the identity governance piece. And then under identity governance, you would go into the entitlement management. And that there you would see, obviously under identity governance, we have access reviews, which also can be part of access packages, but Microsoft requires you to have the specific license for that, and we'll see where it requires a license. But once you come into the screen, as you can see, access package is on the top and the catalog is at the bottom. I don't know why Microsoft did that, but you need to create a catalog first. So just to save time, what I did is I already created a catalog. Um, so if I go and edit this catalog, so you can see I create the catalog, and catalog has two resources. So what I did is I have a SharePoint site here, and then I created a group, a security group. And then we can go and take a look at the security group here. Right now, there are no members in the security group, and this is just a regular cloud security group. So what I'm going to be doing is I'll be using an external user, inviting them in. That external user should have access. Once they get invited, they should have access to the SharePoint site, and they will also become part of this security group. So this is the catalog piece. So, okay, now let's move one layer inside there. Let's go into the access package. So the access package, as you can see, has two roles here. Sorry, two resources roles here. So I can go into the resources, and these are the same resources we saw in the catalog. Oh, actually, I need to go in here. Sorry, now we're going to see that. So yeah, and yeah, it makes it a little bit confusing. So you can always see, okay, are you in an access package or catalog? So right now I'm in the access package. And then under access package, you can go into the resource roles. And these are the two resources that we have in here. Okay. And then just to go back on the permission, so what I'll do is I'll go back to the catalog piece, and then from a role aspect, roles and administration, and this is what I was talking about. So you can assign people within this catalog. You can create, make them a catalog owner, reader, and different roles. So what I will do is I have a lot of, I will, Lee, I will make this person a catalog owner. So now Lee can make changes to the catalog. He can add new catalog and do a lot of day-to-day management. So that actually makes it easier from that aspect. And feel free to ask any questions. I want this to be interactive, but hopefully this is helpful. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. So what I will do now is I will go into the access package overview, and there are multiple ways you can do this. What happens is, and this is the link that is, so every access package has a unique link. Obviously, if you're internal organization, you would just go to my access portal and then you would log in. But obviously, if somebody's coming from a external ID, you would need to provide them with this link, and this link is specific for this access package. They would log in and then go from there. So I'll come back to that. What I wanted to talk about is I kind of mentioned about the policies. So let's take a look at the policy. I have the initial policy. I did not make any changes to it. What I'll do is, just for the sake of time, give you a sense of what the policy look like. So when you're creating a new policy, um, there are multiple options. One option is who can request an access package. So either people internally, they can do it, and then you can specify people or anybody uh, in the directory. Right? The other option is users not in your directory. Uh, Now you can decide, okay, people who are coming in, uh, all users that are connected. And as soon as you do that, you see the approval portion comes in. Approval required, yes. Do you need a justification for that? So some companies might say, okay, why do you need access? Is this a contractor? Okay, which department are you working on or whatnot? So provide a justification. It really depends. You can just say no. And then the stages approval. Some companies might say, okay, one approval is fine, but some might say, oh, we need 3 level of approval and make it more hard for people. So, but yeah, that actually gives you much granular control of how much approval processes you want to go through. And the other good thing is you can choose who the approvals are going to be. So you can do external sponsor, internal sponsor, and then you can just choose. So you can even choose specific users. So what I'll do is for me, I'll just use my account and I am the approver there. And then based on the decision, how many days, so it vary, obviously it's going to vary based on your use case. Um, so you can do that. The request has to be enabled because otherwise you won't be able to request that. Before I move forward, one thing I also want to call out here is um, if you do not want people requesting access, what you can do is just say none. So this becomes direct assignment. And I'll show you what that means. Basically, the admin or the person who owns the access package would have to invite people. Because nobody, when a user logs in, even if they have the link, this access package is not going to show up under my access. Now, yeah, so let's talk about the life cycle. So from a life cycle standpoint, it really gets granular. So you want to expire. So as I said, if you have a contractor, you can say, okay, you can expire the access on this specific day, number of days. So they're for 6 months. You can, based on that, number of hours. I don't know who's going to use that, but yeah, and you can just say never as well. But then if you are saying yes, so the time comes in. And then the other thing is, can the user request specific timelines? If you want to basically make it granular for them, they can do it. Because some companies, what they say, hey, allow users to extend access. Yes. So it depends on the workflow you have. What kind of use case are we looking? This can get very granular. There might be multiple combinations of scenarios here. So depending on what is the right fit. Usually, and for the sake here, I'm not going to save this, but I'll go with never. The other one I was talking about is the access review. And this is really a great feature, because then what happens is, especially on the B2B side, you might have vendors coming in as a guest into your tenant, and then you never do access reviews. So with this, you can also do access reviews, and you can say, okay, we're going to start the access review on this date. Are we going to do this annually, biannually, quarterly? And you can even ask this person, they can do self-review, meaning they might say, yep, my time is up, but I want to extend it, or I don't need access. So after 30 days, it's going to get deleted. You can have specific reviewers assigned, or the manager can do it. So it also provides you much granular. It's very granular, because then you can choose and see, okay, you can choose anybody from the department that can approve or can do the reviews based on that. So I'm not going to save that. So that was the life cycle policy. Um, any questions so far? Okay. So what I'll do is I'll go into assignments. And as you can see, this is a new access package. We do not have any users in here. Uh, Otherwise, you would have seen people come in here as well from a request aspect. Okay. So let me do this. What I will do, bring up another browser, and I have this dummy email. So what we'll do is take this email, and I'll do it from the back end. So I will invite this person, and then from a policy, since we only have one initial policy, I'm choosing one. If you have multiple policies, you can choose depending on what you want that policy to apply to that person. Now, um, you can also choose user already in the directory, or you can go in here. Even external people would show up. So if you have a B2B account here, that person is going to also show up here. Um, so that's what is meant by already in the directory. Now, if you want to invite somebody from outside, like the user I am using, that person, um, that person is external user, so I'm going to do that. And then bypass, I'm going to bypass, although it says no, it should bypass the approval process. So once I hit add, it should add. What we'll see is we'll go into assignments. If I refresh, okay, perfect. And as you can see, this is initial policy. It is delivering, meaning it is going to go to the email there. And this person, and now you can, if I refresh, this person is also going to show up now. So it says delivering, and it does take a couple of minutes. So once it is delivered, it is going to show delivered here. So what I'm going to do is go back here. I'm going to take the link. I'll bring this link, bring the link here, copy. And since this is not an Entra ID account, it is going to send a one-time OPT email. There we go. That is the code we got. Going through the approvals here. And as you can see, before I go here, as you can see, is the generic link myaccess.microsoft.com. So, and you can figure out which domain are you logging in. So SX02 is my Entra ID on Microsoft.com. So you can see, okay, this is the domain, and then it's going to have a unique ID for the actual access package. So that's how it's going to be. And since I did invite this person, the person already has access to this. So let's see what we have access to. When I click on the access package, now you can see we have access to the group, and then we have access to the SharePoint site. So if I click on the SharePoint site, it should come up with this account. And voila, we are in. It's just a generic site. So that tells you we are in here. So let's go back to our group. And now that person should be here. So you can see that person is coming as a guest. So obviously, if I go into the users side, that person is going to be there and the user type is there. So now that person is there. That actually makes it easier to manage because then you can decide, okay, because if you do not add somebody in the group, your user list is going to be massive, right? And you're like, okay, I have so many users, which users are going to be part of the access package? Obviously, you can take a look at there, but generally what happens also is you might even create a group, which you might put in the SharePoint site and control access that way rather than giving access directly to the user. So there are multiple ways of doing it, but obviously, that's something also easier to manage. So now if I go back and if I look at the assignments, it should say delivered. Yep, it is delivered. And then from a request aspect, it should be delivered as well. And we can click on the policy. Sorry, actually, let me go back here. And if I click here, it says deliver. It actually gives you the time when this was done. And if you want to look more granular, like timestamp, because when you're troubleshooting, we usually look at this. And even from a request side of things, you can take a look and see, okay, there are no errors. If it's going to spit out an error, it is going to show up here. So for example, what happens is if the ID already exists or there's a conflict or what have you, uh, the error is going to show up here. And then you can even take a look and see how this assignment was done. So the request type is admin add because I added this person on the back end. It shows up here. If they requested themselves, then it's going to say, user request, and then who requested, and then uh, who did add them. So that because this is the account I'm logged in, it shows that the person. So this is great from a compliancy and operation standpoint because if you want to find out, okay, why was this person added, who added them, you have obviously log in there. And you can even go back and take a look at the user log and see what this person, when they logged in, or if you want to even apply policies like MFA or conditional access, so you can do that as well. Okay. One thing else I wanted to talk about is, and I kind of mentioned this in the PowerPoint. Let me go it this way, and because I want to show you both sides, like how it looks like from the Entra side and from the Azure portal. So from the Azure portal, you go into identity governance, and then you can see access packages. What I want to mention about is connected organizations, and I kind of alluded to this that if you have an organization that you want to white label, you can do it here. You would come in, and then based on that, you can add the directory here. So let's say if I say, and then it is going to look up. So as you can see, this is a Entra ID. So this is another, say it's part of another tenant. So whatever your domain, you can take a domain, and if you want to say, hey, is this an Office 365 tenant? You can say. Now, if I do yahoo.com, it's going to come up and say, hey, the person would require one-time password code. And that's what we saw with the other email, right? So depending on what the use case is, what people are coming in as guests, you have to alter based on that, and also advise people, because some people might be expecting, okay, it's why isn't that asking me, or or I don't have a password. So those kind of things have to be communicated to the user. What else? And based on that, the user should be showing up here, right? Like the user that was added, it should be showing up here. Actually, that is the user here, and the way you can see it is this is guest. Obviously, anybody who is part of the um, tenant internally is a member, and then person who is invited as a B2B is a guest, right? So that's how you differentiate that. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll open up for questions.
If I right to ask, for a regulatory environment, say like energy, government, maybe how do you say, like heavily regulated environments,
Mhm.
would you how would you approach that, or is there like some sort of guidance in that scenario?
Yeah, great question. So I'll give you my example. Right now, I'm working for a public sector customer, the government in Canada. And they're obviously, public sector government have high compliancy, high regulated environments. So when we instituted the access packages there, and let me go back here.
Just to sort of
Uh,
touch on that, like you've got NIST in the US, you've got NCSE in
yeah,
the
yeah.
UK, maybe the equivalent. Is there any sort of like guidance or a framework, or is it? Will you cover that on what you're going to show,
Yeah,
perhaps?
yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to come back on that one.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because this is such a separate piece. I don't think so that like I get your question from a compliance standpoint, but because this is all covered under the Entra ID governance piece, right?
Okay.
So to
Thank you.
answer your questions, you would go with the zero trust architecture. And then because zero trust has identity as one piece, right? Like there are multiple facets to zero trust. So identity, networking, data governance. This comes under identity governance. So based on that, you would um, make sure that that is covered. And depending on the requirements for NAST or other compliance requirements, you would go through the checklist and see those things are covered or not. But
Yeah. So I
individually, just
suppose, yeah, I suppose in that scenario, like if you've got multi-tenant or a cross-tenant, if you've given like there's, for example, in energy, in nuclear, there's a regulatory body that oversee, or perhaps in gov there'll be, say, like FBI or the Canadian equivalent, I suppose. So where you've got maybe certain external organizations where they've got a high level of compliance. If you trust the domain, say FBI, for I'll pick the simple one to maybe as an example, but or if it's finance, maybe like an auditor, I suppose you could then cross tenant and apply zero trust and a few of the bits and pieces. We've got some external auditors of a sort, but maybe by the domain or the tenant, I can specify and then apply. Like the governance piece on that in that scenario. Do you think that would make sense?
that would absolutely make sense. So yeah, so the way it works is, let's say if somebody is coming from, to your point, if somebody's coming from their external tenant, right? If that tenant has conditional access or MFA enable, they'll get MFA there. Once they come to this, so they'll get MFA'd on their home tenant. Once they come to the destination tenant, they'll also get MFI. So probably twice. What you can do is you can go into, and depending on how you set this up, um, you can go into external identities, and you can, from a cross tenant aspect, there are settings in here that you would be setting, and you can say any domain, or you would specify that domain saying coming, FBI.com, anything coming from FBI, we are good, as long as it's coming from the Entra ID, uh, you would not ask for MFA again. So those are things you can do there. Yeah, it gets granular, and that kind of ties up. It's not really tied into the access package, but this is more on the zero trust and governance side of things. But yeah, there are features like that you can enable and go from there.
Well, I think that sort of answers that one. I think, like you said, if you put the pre-checks in for picking FBI is maybe not the nicest example, but like an auditor, KPMG or Deloitte or someone like that, we've got people who come in from a domain where internal colleagues are sharing data externally, but then the auditors are flagged up. There's like, there's that piece there, and then the access that is causing secondary problems. So we've had to revoke everything. But I think it's maybe we've tried to lab it, but at the moment it's a work in progress.
Okay.
Yeah.
You can look at the external identities, right? So external identities cross-tenant access, and depending on what settings you want to do, and depending on it is going to be, because you can even do B2B direct. So B2B direct is a little bit different because it's more on as an external person coming in. B2B collaboration becomes a guest. So really looking at what the requirements are. Some people say, I don't want anybody coming in as a guest because then we have to manage the accounts. So they would create a B2B direct relationship, which is a external, quote unquote, because when you look up the accounts in Teams or Outlook, it's going to say external. So yeah, there are multiple ways to do this depending on the requirement.
Thank you.
No worries, my pleasure.